affordability for homes is super low and interest rates are super high, it should stand to reason that home prices should start coming down, but they're not. Why? Housing prices are not plummeting, and by now you've heard me say many, many times that low inventory is the reason why. Right now, we have a deficit of several million homes, and that's contributing to this issue of supply and demand. But another major key to this is what's known as the mortgage rate lockdown effect. Simply put, current homeowners who have a house with a mortgage rate of 3 or 4%, or maybe lower, simply just don't want to sell that house and buy another house at today's rates of 6 or 7 or maybe higher. So instead of moving up or downsizing, they stay where they're at. And when we as a housing market lose those mid-level move-ups or move-downs, we lose a large portion of the available inventory that would typically be churning. An article this year from Fortune.com that referenced Goldman Sachs says 99% of borrowers have a mortgage rate lower than the current rate. Most property owners have an interest rate on their mortgage that is below 6 or 7%, and you can see that here. This chart from Freddie Mac shows 30-year mortgage rates since 1972. And you have to go all the way back to 2006 or 2001 to see rates like we're seeing right now. So over almost the last 2 decades, homes have been purchased at rates that are cheaper than what we're seeing today, which means that many owners right now have no intention of selling their home, giving up their current rate in order to buy something else today at a much higher interest rate. Right now, the movement that we're seeing in the market are the have-tos. The I have to sell, I have to buy a house because of job, relocation, divorce, death in the family. The kind of life circumstances that don't really care about the timing of the market, but just have to get done. And that's really causing a bottleneck in the real estate market, because if you don't have to sell, then your inventory is not going to become available for the next buyer. So let's go back to that graph. Historically, 6 to 7% interest rates are not unheard of. The year 2000 saw 8%. The 90s averaged rates between 7 and 10%. The 80s saw rates in the teens with a peak of 16.63%. Can you imagine right now if the rates got into the teens? Now, houses back then probably cost $60,000 and not $600,000, but bear in mind that according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the average salary back then was $30,000 a year. So it's all relative. The point is, if you are waiting for the crash and you want to see prices take a big, deep dive, you missed it. We saw a little dip at the end of 2022 and at the beginning of 2023, but now prices are kind of ticking back up again. And you cannot have it both ways. You cannot have cheap housing prices and a low interest rate, because as soon as rates drop and buyers flood the market, the increase in demand is going to cause housing prices to rise. I know this is tough to hear. It's hard to think that you've done everything right and you have the job and you have the savings, but now prices are so high that affordability is out of reach. But as we've already seen, there's still buyer demand in this market, even at 6 or 7%. Could this be the new normal? I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.